I'm so glad that you're on this call. If for some reason you get interrupted and you have to go or you want to share this with a teammate, we are actively recording and we will make sure to get this out to you early next week. So we know that everyone's life is wildly disrupted right now. If your kids break their Legos and are screaming, feel free to go and take care of what you need to take care of. All right, what are we going to do on this call? We're going to talk about these 5 different attitudes that you that's so funny. I've got Lauren's taking a picture of me because I'm standing between we'll send you the picture later. You'll see what we did to make this happen. Okay, what I was saying. We are going to talk about the 5 different attitudes that you'll experience, that your team will experience, and why it's happening to you, why you're experiencing those. We're going to talk about why we fluctuate between attitudes and then how to handle each one, which is really what matters. From a coaching perspective, as a career coach, we know that it's your attitude that shapes your ability to work hard, your ability to stay focused, all of that. So that's why it's so important that we talk about in this season. So if we were to define attitude, we'd say it's a pattern of perspectives that leads to emotional experiences, and it will limit or expand your productivity, your ability to work in a team, and your creativity. So the good news is that your attitude can be influenced, and we're going to talk about that today. High performers, which I'm sure you are because you're taking time to be on a webinar about this, high performers know that they can shift their perspective and their attitude and move through difficult times. I'm wondering for all of you too, if you're thinking, okay, some of this is happening to me. It is real. We are kind of in a chaotic time, but then some of it too is I'm going to have to decide what I'm going to do with it. If you're a parent, you're doing this. You're thinking, how are we going to make the most of today? This morning we were on a walk. We saw parents, their kids on their bikes. Parents, you're thinking, we got to make the most of it. Let's go for a bike ride. So let's talk about how attitudes are formed, okay? This is the attitude factory. This is also what we know as cognitive behavioral therapy. So look at the top. You've got the stimulus. You've got something that triggers a thought. And it's in this case, we're going to talk about visual stimulus, but it could be, you could hear a bass break in the other room. It could be a lot of things, but let's stay visual for the sake of this, our time together. And then from any stimulus that you see, a thought comes into your mind, your brain starts to write a story of what it means. You have feelings because of that. You have an emotional response based on whatever your story is. And then ultimately you take action based on all that. So let's walk through this together and you're going to see why people are behaving the way they are on your team. A stimulus, an event that evokes a thought pattern. So imagine today if you pick up your phone and you see this, 58 iMessages from mom, and you see her calling. What would you think was going on? Where would your brain go? We don't have any other context except this one visual cue. In the chat, I want to know, what's your knee jerk? What do you think this means? If you had to guess. Yes, everybody's right. Yeah, we would all think this. Something's terrible. What's wrong? She has the virus. Someone died. Something's wrong. We all go there, right? Oh, crap. Emergency. Exactly. I learned over time that when I pick up my phone and I see this, what it means is that my mother is at Kohl's and she has coupons that she wants to use and she wants to know what size shoes I am, right? But it would be very common right now with where we're at in the world that if you see this, it's going to, without any other context, just this one stimulus, put us all into a thought pattern and people started to feel something, right? That's how human beings work. That's how cognitive behavioral therapy works. So we all had a thought immediately, which led to a feeling. And this is what's so interesting about our thoughts. Our thoughts are basically our perception, our reality in the moment. And your brain is a predictor. It wants to predict the future all the time. So when you see something like this, I saw this the other day at Walmart, your brain starts to predict what's going to happen next. This is the stimulus. My thought is something is terribly wrong. It's not just, we're out of toilet paper. Interesting. Right? Have anybody else walked through a grocery store or a Walmart and had a moment like this where it feels so eerie and you're wondering, it's not just, we're out of toilet paper. There's a feeling behind that of scarcity, right? And then we all are trying to figure out what to do. So we all write a story, all of us right now, based on the crisis that we're in. We are writing a story about what this actually means. Okay, I love seeing your responses. Keep talking to us. This is helpful. So I want to play the perception game with you. I want to leave COVID-19 for just a few minutes, and I want to show you how much your perception is affecting your cognitive ability, your ability to get work done. You guys want to play a quick game? Is everybody up for just having a little fun for a minute? Great. Your silence is agreement. Fantastic. Look at this puppy wumpy, everybody. Okay, I want you in the chat box. All you have is this one stimulus, okay? Tell me the story about this dog. Where does your brain go when you see this picture? What's the story that your brain writes immediately? Sweet, cuddly, want it. Yes, Elizabeth Becker, you're a dog rescuer, I can tell. Long day at the park, tired from a walk, beach town. Yep, he's sleepy, he's exhausted. Mom took him for a walk. You see how we're all writing a story? All we have is this one picture. Stephanie, do you have a snack? All we have is this one picture, but all of us are meaning-making machines. We're all predicting before we met this dog or know his or her name. We all are predicting what this single picture means. Your brain does this all day. So a lot of times your prediction is based on your past experiences. So for this example, I do rescue dogs for, it's more than a hobby, but it doesn't make a living. So whatever is between those two, a passion project. I love rescuing dogs. I have several dogs that have been born in unfortunate circumstances in the middle of a hurricane, things like that. And whenever I see a dog like this that doesn't have a collar, because of my experiences and my own life, I automatically think that this dog needs to be rescued. That's my immediate thought. And none of us know anything about this dog. This is a stock photo. Spoiler alert. I don't even know about what the real story is. But isn't that wild that one picture triggers meaning for all of us all the time? This is how your brain works. It's perceiving, it's creating a thought pattern, and you immediately feel. If you thought, oh, his mom just took him for a walk and now he's taking a nap, then we're like, good dog, what a sweet dog. If you're thinking like me, this dog needs rescue, I'm like, oh no, I need to get in there and help that dog. Totally different reactions. Now, ramp that up with, go back to the COVID world that we live in, unfortunately, right now. You can see how every time we see that picture on the news, every time you walk into the store and the shelves are empty, your mind starts racing. Your mind starts writing a story of what it all means. And here's the thing that's wild. You can change this perception at any moment. You can decide. So, for example, we went to several stores. They're completely out of toilet paper. Somebody this morning on Facebook posted a picture. They said, just went to Costco and there was bounds and bounds of toilet paper, bounds and bounds of food. And he said, trust the supply chain. Trust the supply chain. We're going to be okay. And so even in a moment when you start to feel panicky, you can decide, what does this mean? So I've decided when I don't see toilet paper on the shelves, that means for the next 3 days, that means that trucks are driving toilet paper to me. That's a very different story than, oh my gosh, we're going into a crisis. We all will be quarantined. There will be tanks driving through the streets. We will never get out of this. This is our life now. What else can I use for toilet paper, right? I get to decide what all of that means. And we are all in that space together right now. And whenever you have a thought, wherever your thought leads you, you will have a feeling that matches it. That's totally normal. So again, if I start to think we are really going to be in trouble, this is really bad, my body starts to panic. I get an adrenaline shot, right? I really do start to panic. Is this making sense? How we really do have this consciousness cascade. And once we're in the emotion, it's going to get harder and harder to work back out of it. So what we have to do is, as soon as we start to feel stressed right now, as leaders, we got to nip it and ask, is this reality or am I perceiving this? Is this really what's happening or am I perceiving it? If you can nip it as much as you can, I happen to be dating a coach. So we're just nipping all over the place. Nip that, nip that. Hold on. We don't really know that yet. Let's not panic. Let's not panic. It's just toilet paper missing for 3 days. Everything's going to be okay. So anywhere that you can start to nip that spiral, that will help you. It gets a lot harder. Here's an example of somebody who's really struggling with their perceptions. Kids are hilarious about this, right? He's in full on panic because he doesn't want to share his leg hole. Kids will be a great source of amusement the next few days. And here's another one, right? His perception is totally off. We know as adults, well, I have tattoos, so I know what that feels like. I would never want a kid to go through that. But he's sure he wants it, right? So again, our perception shapes our own reality, even if it's not true at the time, even if we know he would hate a tattoo, that's what he wants right now. We are all dealing with our perception in life. You're dealing with that, and then your team, each one of your teammates is struggling with their own perception of reality right now. What is really going on? After all of this, we start to take an action. So you have been watching this over the last few days. When something is out, this is supply and demand, right? When there's supply and demand, there's no toilet paper. What does everybody all of a sudden want? Toilet paper. You're watching everybody's behavior stem from their thoughts and their emotions. So here are the 5 different attitudes. When we think of attitudes, this is like we get kind of stuck in these 5 attitudes regularly, and they feed themselves. So Andrea on our group chat said it. She said, hey, I heard the other day that you should use stress as a catalyst to be thankful, use it to prompt gratitude. So you can imagine if you decide in the next few days, I am going to focus my thoughts on gratitude, you will be less stressed because your thoughts are saying, everything's going to be okay. I have what I need. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my family. I have a roof over my head. Your body's going to go, oh, okay, I can relax. And naturally, you will end up at number 4. You will be more willing. Your attitude will be, how can I give to others? I'm grateful, and how can I give? So each of us, we are going to be responsible over the next few days, wildly responsible, to manage our own perception, our own thoughts, which will help our emotions. If you hear, really, I'm being nuanced here, but I'm not saying to try to manage your emotions. That's harder to do. What's easier to do is the moment before that to catch the thought before you're feeling it. What happens is the reason it's harder to stop an emotional response down that cascade is that if you really think you're being threatened, all those stress hormones have already released. And it's a lot harder once all that stress hormone, all that cortisol is in your blood and rushing through your synapses. Once that's happening, it's much harder to stop that process. So we all have to do what my friend Tegan calls mental hygiene these next few weeks, and make sure we're counting and measuring our thoughts and being really mindful of what we think about and what we let in. So I want to walk through these really quick using that same thing, that your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. If I'm going to be in that victim mindset, and I'm sure that you have some teammates who are going into a powerless victim mindset, you might be thinking, what's the use, right? What's the use now? People are abandoning me. No one cares, which will naturally lead to the emotions of feeling apathetic, feeling overwhelmed, because our thoughts lead to our emotions. And then those teammates of yours might avoid, make excuses, maybe ignore glaring red flags that are going off. You probably, I don't know if this is happening yet, but you will have some teammates who seem to have gone rogue. And you're going to wonder, like, what are you doing, man? Get with it. And we can all get into that headspace where we get kind of annoyed. But what's really happening, if you as a leader can hold on to compassion and tell yourself what's really happening is this person is feeling overwhelmed and they're probably in this thought pattern that sucks. So Andrea makes a great point. She says we should probably stop saying social distancing when we mean physical distancing. We do need social time more than ever. That's right. And that's why we're on this call together. And so even the language that we use is creating our reality. We're just talking about physical distance, not social. That's right. But you're going to find that some of your teammates are going to end up avoiding. And I'm going to show you how to manage that attitude, how to help them get through that attitude. I want to talk about this. This meme is like the perfect example during COVID of how we're all feeling, right? Please don't make me adult. Okay, the next attitude that some of us are going to fall into is conflict. And the news loves conflict mentality. It feeds off of creating finger pointing. It's somebody's fault. Somebody didn't do their job. Somebody had to, right? We've all heard this. When you naturally are in a space that somebody else is blowing it or it's their fault, you will feel angry. Makes sense, doesn't it? You're going to be kind of resentful. You will experience anger. And then your natural behavior will be to fight, to blame, to force. You're going to see this too on your team. People will start blaming each other, and maybe everybody's a little bit more tense. And I like to say, like, prickly. People are a little more prickly. It's going to be really hard to stop people once they're prickly. But what you can do, and I'm going to show you after we walk through these 5, you can help them edit their thought life and get some more clarity on their thoughts, which will help release the emotions of anger and change their behavior. So I'm putting a little asterisk in here. Samantha and I were just talking about this today. I am starting to make silly mistakes, like strange mistakes. And I'm noticing these areas in problem solving, planning, my focus, my concentration, even my control responses. I'm feeling much more agitated easily. My actual cognitive flexibility. Is anybody else noticing that? Like, it's hard to, I can't even think of other options. In our working memory. All of these probably feel a little hijacked right now because those 2 attitudes, that fight or flight mentality, Daniel Goleman calls amygdala hijack. And this is when your frontal lobe, your body disables your frontal lobe, and it goes, all of your energy is going to your amygdala, which is survival mode. Do you remember on Monday how we were talking about we are all just trying to meet our basic needs? We're not in a spot where we're like, I'm going to self-actualize. We're like, do I have food and water? So because of that, your nervous system is taking over, and amygdala hijack. You can Google this and learn about it. Lauren and I have been learning about stress all this morning, the different phases of stress response that people go through. But here's the main thing. With the amount of crisis that we're all living in right now, it's going to be common that you might see this in you or your teammates. And it's not a character flaw. It's not somebody being lazy. It's saying, hold on. We are all a little hijacked right now. Our brains are not working at their best potential to do high cognitive functioning right now. And that would be normal. So I just want to take a minute and normalize that for all of us and for your team. If you can share this concept with them and ask your team, how much do you feel like you're in amygdala hijack right now, percentage wise? I'm probably there 25% of the day where I'm like, oh, I feel almost out of my body. I'm having trouble focusing. I'll be looking for my phone while I'm holding my phone, right? I'm having trouble planning and really putting pieces together. So even asking your team this, and for yourself and your team, building some compassion that this is something that we're all experiencing. So I'm curious for you, if I'm in 100% amygdala hijack, I'm always feeling that way. I want to know 0 to 100% how often you are experiencing amygdala hijack, if you had to guess right now. Be really interesting to see these percentages. Okay. E-learning, Stephanie, I feel you. Mm-hmm. Okay. Did anybody notice, looking at chat, nobody said 0. So every person on your team at some point is literally like blacking out. Yeah, and what that means is that we, at the very best, we can believe that everyone is trying their hardest, and there are times when your biology is taking over. It's like getting mad at somebody who's sprained their ankle that they can't run faster. That's the level that we're talking about. And so for some of us who are at those higher percentages, we're going to talk about how to bring your body back down and how to relax a little bit more. But ultimately, we have to be really mindful that we're experiencing this and our team is. And even just sharing this concept to take the judgment away will be helpful. One thing that Navy SEALs are trained to do, who are there in high conflict zones all the time, one thing that Navy SEALs do that a lot of yogis do, a version of, is called box breathing. Has anybody heard of box breathing? This is something that Navy SEALs do to get out of their amygdala, to be able to higher reason so that they don't make a mistake when they're in the field with their buddies, with their battle buddies. So we're going to do this together. If you're sitting or you can stand, I'm standing at this point because my back is on fire from sitting so much doing this type of work. So you can stand or you can sit, but I want you to feel your feet in the ground, okay? Really feel like you can ground your feet for yourself. In box breathing, what we're going to do is I'm just going to draw a little box, just like that. And we're going to breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to hold our breath for 4. We're going to breathe out slow for 4 like this. Not, but we're going to slow it down and breathe out. Then we're just going to wait 4 seconds and with our lungs emptied. This again tells your body, because when we get nervous, we go, and we start to breathe faster. We're reverse engineering by telling our biology, slow down. This is the way that you can slow your emotions down if you're starting to feel panicked. So we're going to try this together. We're going to breathe in and we're going to do this for 3 rounds. I want you to notice what happens to your body as we do this together, okay? We're going to breathe in for 4. Ready? Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold that air in your lungs. 2, 3, 4. Breathe it out nice and slow. 2, 3, 4, and then just rest. 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out nice and slow. 2, 3, 4, and just rest. 2, 3, 4. One more time. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4, and rest. 2, 3, 4. What do you notice as you're doing this? What do you notice in your body as you just take a moment? Calm. Very well said. Sense of calm. Yes, your heart rate will slow because biologically you're slowing down your breathing, and those two are obviously tied. Tammy, yep, concentrating on one thing. Yes, you can focus, you can relax. You will feel you will feel yourself get control again over your brain. This can be something, it's so simple. You guys, I'm not a yogi. I'm not like touting some big theory. I just know that it's used by people in the military in the most high stress situations. And so I'm going to give you a permission slip right now to go and bring this to your team. Just box breathe with them before a meeting. Box breathe with your kids. Help everyone just get out of their amygdala. You're going to need your frontal lobe. So I wanted to try that with you so you could experience it. Bring it to your team. Box breathing, super simple. You don't have to do downward dog. Although yoga, this is an awesome time to do yoga. Okay, those first 2 attitudes, the fight or flight, is what I'm most concerned about in our behavior, in our kind of mentality and our attitudes right now. Those 2 attitudes, if we're in those too long, it's literally like if you sit in fight or flight mode too long, it's like being in a hot tub with cortisol, which is a stress hormone. And we have seen that if you put cortisol on human tissue, over time, it breaks that muscle tissue down. So we are all going to touch stress. We're all going to touch the hot tub of stress hormones. But as soon as you can pull yourself out of it, that will help you a ton. Because we're not going to ignore it. I mean, trying to ignore it and be like, everything's going to be fine. We all know that that isn't really helpful because it's not true. But if you can find ways to calm yourself very simply and calm your kids, it will really help you as you move into this kind of long-term plan that we're all in. We just found out we're in Indiana. Kids will be home till May 1st. You better believe that we're going to be doing a lot of box breathing. Okay. After you're out of those 2 phases, your brain is able to start to rationalize again and take responsibility. So if you can get to this spot, even if you live here for the next 3 weeks, you're winning. Your thoughts may be this: how can we find a way to make this work? What do I need to take responsibility for, right? Just basic, how can we find a way to make this work? We're not trying to save the world right now. We are really just trying to find a way for everybody to be okay. If you can live here, you will experience some relief. You will also have to tolerate all the things that are going on. It's going to be hard to not be in moments where you're feeling like, I'm still tolerating life. Yeah, we are going to all deal with more inconveniences than we're used to, for sure. You'll see that we're all might be using our coping mechanisms. It's kind of a joke because we gave up alcohol in 2020. Actually, most of my team did. We all decided that independently. And now I'm getting texts from some of my corporate clients joking with me. They're like, you're still giving up wine? Or so you might find yourself using coping mechanisms right now. We're finding it to be very effective to do that with chocolate. So that's working for us, but you might find yourself using more coping mechanisms than normal. Obviously, some coping mechanisms are more helpful than others. Taking a walk, stretching, all of that can be more helpful. Especially for the waistline, but it's okay. We're all doing what we can. So that's the next attitude up, is being able to rationalize and work through this. After that, there's this mentality of giving. And this is what we're all loving to see online. Isn't this what raises your spirits, right? We are watching people say, hey, I went to get groceries for my shut-in neighbor. And we're like, oh, that's the sweetest thing. That really helps raise our energy and our mentality too. So if you can get to this level, you will be able to, I do believe, because there is goodness in humanity, that you will be able to touch this level at times, and it will help restore you. This is for you too. So being able to get into the thought pattern, and I'm not saying to just break away from all your suffering and discouragement and just be like, how can I help you? Let me be a helping robot. Let me be super codependent and not think about me. This is after you've considered yourself. If you can also say, hey, how can I help you? What do you need? If you can say it to a neighbor or a friend, and you are truly feeling generosity and compassion, not just squishing down your own stress, but being able to experience some of compassion, you will naturally be able to serve other people, give, support, help others. Anytime that we see a teammate able to touch this, or you're able to touch this, if somebody else does it, make sure to say thank you. Like, I know that you're stretched. It means a lot that you went the extra mile. Thank you. As much as we can show gratitude here, which somebody mentioned earlier, and really be able to live in this process of how can I help? Here's my caveat for that, particularly during this time, is having boundaries. Brene Brown says that the most generous people are those with the strongest boundaries. Isn't that interesting? And so if you are struggling right now with being generous, maybe even to your kids or your team, one of the best things you can say is like, where do I need some boundaries so that I can give when I can give, and I can also take care of myself in the process. So it will be very hard to get over this last attitude that we talked about. Hold on a second. It'll be very hard to get through Rationalizer if you don't have some really solid boundaries in place. Imagine if you're at home with kids and you're like, kids, from 1 to 3, you got to do schoolwork. I'm going to do my work. And at 3 o'clock, I'm all yours for 30 minutes, right? That is a lot cleaner. And at 3 o'clock, you're actually excited to see your kids versus like, oh, they're just coming in and bothering me whenever they want to. And I have to do this, and I'm rationalizing, and I'm shoving the chocolate and the wine to make this work. You can decide how often you're going to get to live in this mentality based on how strong your boundaries are. Okay. And I was going to say, typically when I'm doing this, we talk about how the people that live in this mentality are the ones that are, sending food to each other, sending flowers to each other. I know I wouldn't say, I don't know how everybody feels about baking bread and sending it to friends right now. You'd have to douse it with antibacterial hand gel. But think about, where can you be giving right now where it feels good to you? Where would it feel good to give? One thing that my team has been doing is we've been buying gift cards for our favorite local restaurant, just because it's a way that we can give back and make sure that they can come back and work eventually once this whole thing is done. So what can you be doing to be generous? Here's the last attitude. We're going through the 5 of them. This one's got the most energy in it. When we're all in the office and life is normal and we're not in quarantine and we're not worried about a pandemic, this is the ideal place to live. Confident teammate. Our main thought process is opportunity. There's opportunities for us. This is going to work, right? And then you have peace and confidence and you're excited, and you can find solutions that encourage everyone and help them. You may be able to touch this in the next couple weeks. You may say, I could be a confident teammate. I am just, based on the human behaviors that I'm watching out in the world, this will be harder to get a hold of. This will be harder to access, to live in. It will be harder to live in an attitude like, there's opportunities for all of us. This is a great opportunity. Most of us will probably be at best just rationalizing our way through it and trying to be generous where we can. So I'm purposely releasing you from trying to like, I've got to make the most of this opportunity, right? Maybe it's really more realistic and human to say, hey, we're going to get through this together. We're going to love our people well. We're going to love our team well. We're going to love each other well. And when we live in that mindset, it'll be easier for us to access this confident teammate mentality. But one thing to know is that you can't jump from being super stressed out and amygdala hijacked. You can't jump all the way to like, all right, what are the opportunities? That's not a true attitude shift. We really have to move through these attitudes linearly. So this is the question, which I've already kind of answered. But why can't we just all agree to be confident teammates? Like, why can't we all just be more flexible right now? You know? Because of this guy. Okay, as soon as you see this picture, who else gets like like your tummy or your heart starts to like squeeze? It's like, as soon as I see this picture now, it sends me. Anybody else? The stress is back. Sorry. Okay, I'm going to take it away. Guys, I'm going on. Okay, let's all just be this dog. Okay, this dog is straight up rationalizing right now. Better? This is a better picture. Okay, great. This dog got stuck in a bush and is totally cool with it. Look at that guy. I access this corgi whenever I need to. And this is a level 3 rationalization right here. You know what? Life is what it is, and here we are. And we're getting through it. And he's even got a little smile, okay? But the reason that we can't live at that opportunity mindset all the time is because of all this environmental stress around us. We are impacted by our environment. We are impacted by our relationships. We're impacted by the food we eat, by the sleep we get. All of that is impacting us right now and making it difficult to shift our attitudes as much. I want to know, before this COVID thing happened, how well did you handle stress? I already shared with you in my house, we're handling it with chocolate. I'm trying to get our attitudes back up after having to show you that horrible virus picture. So 5 being, I handle stress like a champ. I meditate and I even levitate every day. And I'm a yogi. So stress is an illusion. It's not even real. I'm at a 5. I'm doing great. 1, since the beginning of time, I have not handled stress well. I want to know how well you handled it before all of this happened. 5, I handled it really well. 1, you know what? Honestly, it's never really been something that I've been good at. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, Jim, I love this. Jameson said, it's a 4, but I have to be a little dramatic first. I'm with you. You know, I gotta go bananas and then I'm fine. Okay. So we're mid-range, right? Nobody here is like, I'm a 5. I don't even know why I'm on this call. Like, I probably need to send this to my teammates, but like, I don't even need it. Everyone's somewhere in the middle. That makes sense that we're all learning how to handle it. So, okay, I get so distracted by these chats. I'm going to move that for a second so I can talk with you. So now some of us felt like we had pretty developed skill sets for handling stress. And some of us were like, honestly, this has never really been, I've never been good at this. It just happens to be about COVID now. All of us are under more pressure. So it'd be normal. It'd be totally normal for you to find yourself in that victim and fighter mode more often. It doesn't mean that you're spiraling out of control. It doesn't mean that you've lost yourself forever. It means that in this season right now, we need to take extra good care of you. It is very common. We talk about this in the coaching world all the time, that our stress reactions drop us into the victim and fighter mode. Are you finding that you're more, even the people you love the most, you're finding you're having more tension with them? Or maybe you're finding it harder and harder to get out of bed? If you're having that moment, please hear me to your core. This is human. It is normal that you will experience more of this for a season because of the unique, unprecedented situation that we're in. I would encourage us all to be using box breathing as much as we can to help get out of those first two levels. When you're in fight or flight mode, when you are in victim or fighter mode, like I'm being victimized, or get me through this. If you're finding yourself getting in more arguments, things like that, even just stepping outside your garage door and going, take a few deep breaths, get your frontal lobe back online. It will be helpful for you. So I want to coach somebody right now. I'm going to do this live. And I want somebody who can share a time that they were angry or overwhelmed last week. Who would like to jump on? Let us know in the chat, and Sam will unmute you. I want to bring you on, and I want to talk about a time that you were angry or overwhelmed in the last week. Who wants to jump in with me? Come on in. Who wants to play with me? I'm going to pick, I know some of y'all, so you're going to get picked on. Who wants to share? I'm going to coach you live. You're going to see how you can help your team with this. You know what's coming. Okay. Olivia, I know you're on here. Olivia and I have worked together for years. So Olivia, you cool with unmuting yourself? You're out there. You're out there. Okay, great. Where are you? I see you. You there?
Hi.
Hey, there you are. All right. It's good to see your face.
You too.
You're working from home right now?
Yeah, we're working from home until May.
Okay. Yep. Working from home for a couple months. At least you have your little kitty cat, Phoenix.
Yes, she is good moral support at the moment.
I think all the stay-at-home pets, like I just want to do a quick shout out for all the stay-at-home cats and dogs who I think cats are like, get out of here. I'm used to having this time to run around in circles and get on your bed and chew my nails on things you didn't know about. You know, and dogs, my dogs are like, yes, mom's still here. Yes, they're loving it. So shout out to all the pets out there. Okay, Olivia, share a time that you were angry or overwhelmed in the last week. Tell me what happened.
And to give some additional context, I actually started getting a cold on Thursday, which is
Oh God.
great timing. So I worked from home on Thursday, and then we got the email on Thursday afternoon that our office was closing. So it's a big adjustment.
Yeah.
It's kind of just been taking it hour by hour. And on, I think it was Tuesday of this week, I just could not, like I woke up feeling emotional. I didn't have any meetings, and I realized that that's going to be really important for me to at least like have some time on the calendar to touch base with teammates or anybody since I live by myself. So yeah, I just had a really hard time doing really anything and just being emotional. And I ended up just messaging my manager near the end of the day and just saying like, hey, just wanted to let you know I'm having a really rough like mental health day. Didn't want you to think I was being purposely unresponsive. And she ended up giving me a call, and we just talked about how weird and unpredictable everything is. And, I told her that as much as I hate that any of us are in this situation, it's also nice to remember that none of us are going through it alone. And we're all like, I think you have that perception sometimes of like other people are just powering through and they know how to handle it, and you're the odd one out. And I think it's good to remember that we're not, but definitely when I woke up that morning, I was like, this is going to last forever. And I don't know how I'm ever going to be able to get myself in a mindset that it just feels normal to work at home all the time. And
Totally.
I'm somebody who likes to work remotely, but if I work remotely, it's at like a coffee shop, not in my apartment all the time.
So. Exactly. Yep. So if we were to listen to what Olivia just said, do you think that it's more likely that she is in the victim mode and she's feeling a little overwhelmed, or that she's really angry and she wants to fight people about it? I think we all know, right? She is more in the overwhelmed space. So the best thing that we can do, my is going nuts, sorry. the best thing that we can do, think about her thoughts. What would you say your actual thought is here, Olivia, on the left side of the screen? What would you say the core thought is when you think about all that's happened in the last couple weeks?
Just in general or on that day in particular?
Around on that day in particular.
Oh gosh. I think it was just that sense of like uncertainty.
Yes. Uncertainty.
I'm a person who doesn't deal well with ambiguity under the best of circumstances. So when like all of a sudden everything in my life is kind of uncertain and ambiguous, it was just kind of like compounding on top of each other.
So your thought is like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And what does your natural body do? Everybody, this is what we call an emotion. How does your body respond when you have a thought of like, I don't know what's about to happen? What do you tend to feel in your body?
I tend to withdraw when I'm stressed. So I just don't do anything.
Yeah. So you would say I'm overwhelmed, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then you would naturally avoid.
Yeah.
Does everybody see this is just very human? It has nothing to do with Olivia's character or her nature or her desire to be a good worker. It's actually a very human process that she's going through. She has a thought. I don't know what my future holds. I don't know how this is going to change or when this is going to change. She naturally feels overwhelmed and then she avoids. Your best workers. I know Olivia very well. I know what a hard worker she is. I know what a strong influence she is here in Indianapolis. And even your stars are going to have moments like this where they just cannot do this. They cannot process and they're feeling really stuck. And she has the resources enough to know I'm going to reach out to my boss and actually have a conversation, which is awesome. So we're going to go through this. I want to show you when you are dealing with your team, you're going to do what me and Olivia did naturally right here. You're going to ask, hey, what happened? I just found this out, or I was just told this. What went through your mind? Her mind went to the place of, I don't know when this is ever going to end. Is this my life now? Me in Phoenix in the apartment, right? And then she's saying, I felt overwhelmed. I wanted to withdraw. I wanted to hide. You can find, once you know these pieces of information, you can simply say this to your teammate. It makes perfect sense that when you found out you'd be working from home and you were going to be by yourself in your apartment, that you saw it as kind of a threat to how life is and how life is supposed to be, and you felt overwhelmed. Is that accurate to what you experienced, Olivia?
Yeah. I think it's the uncertainty more than anything.
Yep. It makes sense that, and we know this, and this is on a later slide, but humans don't fear change. They fear uncertainty. Your brain does not like it when there's a lot of uncertainty. That makes perfect sense. Olivia, what happens to you when you hear a teammate, say I'm your teammate, when you hear a teammate say this?
That they're, like if my teammate said that they were uncertain?
Nope. If you had a teammate say, it makes perfect sense that when you felt uncertain about the future, that it made you withdraw.
Oh, yeah, it makes me feel better. And I think too, I would be quicker to say something about it next time.
Yep.
Just, even being honest, like, hey, my typical stress reaction is to kind of tune stuff out. And I want to make sure that I'm able to bounce back from that a little bit quicker.
Yep.
But, holding that space of like, it's okay to have this reaction and I don't have to move through it by myself.
That's right. So now Olivia is back in. She can come back to work a lot quicker. Do you see how this will speed up the overwhelm process? And here's the thing. When you're in this state, if a teammate is telling you something, I know some of you are stay-at-home moms you're usually working moms. Now you're at home with your kids are home and you're trying to figure all this out. And if you don't have that experience, or if you're not single like Olivia, or if you're not in these different experiences, you may not fully understand what it's like to be them right now. So the best thing you can do when anybody's sharing with you why they aren't sending their emails or why they went dark is don't argue with their interpretation of reality. This is really hard, and this is how Olivia is taking it, and it makes sense. And you don't even have to agree with the way that somebody sees the world right now to actually create connection. This whole opportunity is an opportunity for us to connect and be closer in the end, simply by listening, simply by doing these exercises with each other and showing understanding. It will actually help us all move through our experiences quicker. And the next question, after Olivia's gone, oh man, thanks, I feel really heard. You can simply ask this as a leader. What options do you have moving forward? I don't know. And this is the reason why this question is so important right now, because we all have totally different circumstances. So if Olivia had 2 kids, one of which is like tugging on her pants right now, and the other one is, playing with something they shouldn't be playing with, her options in moving forward are going to look different than mine, than Samantha's, than anybody else. So asking this question to your team makes perfect sense that when this happened, you thought this and you felt this. Now, what options do we have to move forward into the future? Now, Olivia hopefully is out of amygdala hijack, has her frontal lobe available to her again, and she can make a plan. Do you see how if we asked this first and she was still overwhelmed, she literally wouldn't be able to access an answer? We just talked about what happens with amygdala hijack. So people really right now, more than anything, your team needs to feel seen, heard, and understood, reassured, so that they can move forward. Everyone is going to have a different response. Sam and I were talking about our stress responses earlier this week. When I get stressed, I tend to fight. I tend to overproduce. I tend to get kind of aggressive. And Sam will get more quiet. And so we work together every day. And so we just have this open conversation, right, Sam? Like, hey, I'm going to seem a little too assertive and aggressive. And if you feel a little attacked, let's talk about it. Let's make sure that we can get on the same page, because this is natural and human right now. So what options do we have moving forward? How can we make sure that everybody's taken care of? This is so important that we ask this question after. Now, you might be sitting here going, cool, but how am I going to get myself out of this? Sure, I can help my team, but how can I get myself? Here's the first thing you want to do. Accept that you are in victim or fighter mentality. This is human. It's normal. And it's going to happen to all of us. Ask Sam and Lauren how many times I was like, it was just like my teeth were out. I was like a little porcupine with all my little prickles sticking out. And every day I have to be like, let the pricklies go. It's going to be okay. Box breathe, take a walk. So if you end up in that space too, either victim or fighter, it's totally normal. And the moment that you allow yourself to accept that, you can move through it. Even with Olivia's story, we've had these conversations where it's like, I just need to accept, right, that this is where I'm at. There's nothing wrong with it. Olivia is an extremely high achiever. So all of us will feel, if you're used to achieving a lot and being driven and being the leader and making a difference, you might be like, I'm never in this state. This is weird for me. What's wrong with me? What's happening to me? Oh no, now I'm stressed that I'm stressed. I actually had an employee tell me, I am stressed that I'm stressed. So we're judging our reactions. So as much as you can accept where you're at, that will be really helpful for you. The second is this: shift your perception. What other 3 stories could also be true? So Olivia, I'm going to have you come back on if you don't mind. Do you mind one more time? Oh, can you unmute? There we go. You're back.
Yeah. Can you see my video? Because I can't see me.
Okay. I can see you. Yeah.
I hope I'm okay. So.
Yeah, it looks great. So
okay.
What are 3? So when we get stuck in the story of the uncertainty of all of this, I don't know when this is going to end. What other stories could also be true? We don't know yet, but what else could be true? Like one could be, this will end. In 2 months, the sun will come out and we'll all go back to normal. And it's just a very weird time. That's one story. What's another story?
Yeah. I guess one thing that I've talked about with friends is my hope that with all the closures and everything, it seems extreme now, but it will help things get back to normal more quickly.
I love that story. Flatten that curve. Let's get this done. Let's save lives.
Yeah.
So that third story that I see thought leaders taking on is every day that you stay home, you are saving people.
Mm-hmm.
You are actively creating the flattening of the curve. So even that is more of a giving mentality, right? Like, what can I do to make a difference right now? Stay at home. It seems so simple, but we know, everybody has seen the data, that will actually make a difference. That's great, Olivia. Thank you for your help on this. Seriously. Thanks for jumping in. I know several people in the chat really appreciate what you shared, because you ain't the only one, sister. We're in it together.
Yeah. We have several of my coworkers have been joining these.
Awesome.
Friends, it's nice to see you.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Olivia's coworkers. Okay, that's great. Well, thank you for letting me pick on you as we did this exercise.
Sure thing.
So you can imagine you are going to have to decide which perception you're going to take. I believe, and I know physiologically, that if you say to yourself every day, I'm staying home today, I'm helping to flatten the curve, I am making a difference. If you're willing to take on that perception versus like, will we ever have toilet paper again? If you can decide that your perception is going to be about how you're helping, you will be able to be more kind, generous, and calm. And your team is going to need you as a leader to remind them of that. Remind them of the different perspectives. We all have seen this, but actually Mr. Rogers was an awesome thought coach. And he said, whenever there was a critical issue that happened or a crisis, my mom would say, look at all the helpers. She literally said, shift your perspective, shift what you're looking at so that you can see the goodness and humanity in these moments. Here's the last one that will help you. Changing your physiology and your environment. Like, just like we did box breathing, we're talking about how your biology is affecting your attitude. So this sounds funny, but one time I went to the doctor because I thought I was in big trouble health-wise. And she's like, how much water are you drinking? And I was like, that's not the point. I WebMD'd it and this is the end. Take my blood, test me for all these things. And I brought in a list of things I wanted her to test me for. And she was like, seriously, how much water are you drinking? And I was like, water? I don't have time for this. I drink coffee. And that was the first time that a medical professional was like, I'm serious. I am writing you a script for H2O. So some of this is our physiology. If you need to get yourself out of an attitude, especially fight or flight, just slow down and drink some water. You can also change your environment. Going outside right now can be really helpful. Getting some fresh air, opening up the windows, even if you just open up the windows in your house, if it's above 50, it's going to feel awesome. It will help you. Remember, there are living things out there. Nature is still coming. Spring is coming. We're going to be okay. So that's how you can get yourself out of this attitude. Just accept that you're there. Don't resist it. Change your perception, write a different story, change your environment. I cannot tell you what a difference that will make. And here's the last thing as a leader. And this is going to sound weird, but as we go through this together, do your best to not emotionally borrow other people's problems. If you're on this call, it's probably because you're a leader and you're trying to figure out how to lead your team in the best way possible. And they're going to bring you their problems and they're going to want you to help them fix them. And some of them you can, and some of them you're just going to use this coaching pattern for. You're just going to say, tell me what happened. What are you thinking? How does that feel? They're going to say, I just found out my kid's home till May. I'm thinking my life is physically impossible. I feel overwhelmed. And all you're going to do is say, makes perfect sense that when you were told that your kids aren't going back to school, that you thought, I can't do this, and you feel overwhelmed. That makes perfect sense. I'm not actually picking up that problem box and saying, I think I could probably help homeschool your kids one day a week, or let me help you figure out how to solve that problem. You will not be able to solve everybody's problems right now. You won't. We will all have to do our part in making this work for us and our family. We will all have to do that. You can help where you can help, but just be mindful as a leader that the best thing you can do, you're the you, stick figure, obviously, is look at your teammates, look at them, and let them know that you see them and understand where they're at. And it will not be possible for you to pick up and carry everybody else's problems with you. The most generous people have the strongest boundaries. And we're all going to have to find a balance right now between what our boundaries are and how to help other people. And I know as a leader, you have more tools than potentially your team to be able to do this. That's why you're a leader in the first place. You have more tools to communicate and to reassure people. And so coaching them through their own attitudes and their perceptions will be the best gift that you can give them in this time, especially from a distance. So here's the question I have for you. How do you want to show up for your team during this crisis? How do you want to lead? How do you want to show up? Sam, can you share what some people are saying?
Yeah, we'll give them a second to type it in.
Sure. I'll share with how I want to show up with my team, because I know Kevin's on here too, and Sam. My team's here with me virtually. I want to be the type of leader that helps us all stay productive, because I chose the people on my team because they produce and they love producing. So I want to be the type of leader that helps them stay in that mindset so they don't feel discouraged. I also want them to feel seen, heard, understood. So one thing that I know for all of us is that on our team, I'm working to really narrow down what absolutely has to get done today and what are the deadlines that we're working on. Us as a team, I want them to feel very clear on what has to happen. And ultimately, more than anything, I want them to know that I care about them as a human. But I also know that there's a delicate balance that if I say to my team, you know what, everybody, I know we're all struggling. Let's take a couple weeks and just try to get through it. There's a chance that based on my team, that they will not feel useful. And that would actually not be helpful for them. They might feel like, I could actually do something right now. Give me some sense of normalcy. So that's how I want my team to feel, like I am fully present with them emotionally and mentally, and that we are together being productive, basically, so we have some semblance of normalcy. Sam, how do you want to show up? I'm totally putting you on the spot, and you're on my team. But this is fun. How do you want to show up?
I, like she said, I tend to get quiet when I'm stressed. And so I'm wanting to show up by proactively telling Lindsay, like I told her this morning, like I am spiraling of like just more new stuff coming in every day, freaking me out, even though I've been fine all week. So I want to proactively share what's on my plate and share what's on my mind, because then it makes sense. And if I'm quiet, it's like, it's not that something's broken or wrong. This is how I'm processing. So
Totally.
sharing my feelings.
I love that.
Yeah. Looks
I love
like
that.
on our chat, we have a lot of people saying like they're wanting to share something positive, helping people feel connected, a lot of positivity, which we've seen that a lot this week of
Yes.
how can I spread the positive when there's so much negative going on, trying to check in with people personally, whether or not they're their supervisor or leader, but thanking people for positive attitudes. Definitely.
I love that. Yep. As much as we can encourage people and thank them when they're doing a great job. Sam did a killer job this week. We were talking about all that we got done underneath the stress that we were all managing. So I love the idea of remembering to point out to your team when they're doing an awesome job. We would do that every day normally, but now more than ever, we have to over communicate as leaders. I love that. That's so beautiful. Please keep writing in. We keep all the chat comments because we take everything you tell us and we create more material that we believe will be helpful based on what you say. So we read everything that you say, and it means a lot to us to feel connected to you during this time. Here's what I know. Leaders utilize a mindset of compassion and confidence to make life better for themselves and others. All of us will have to tap into our compassion and our confidence to make our life better. We're going to have to decide what stories we believe and to create an environment where our team can flourish and have some sense of normalcy in the chaos. I would love to stay connected to you. We will be putting out fresh content next week. So I need you to help make that happen. I want to know, and you can write in the chats, what else do you need help with? Anything that I have expertise in as a career coach, as a generational coach, and as a generational consultant, I want to help do for you. So please tell me directly. You can put it in the chat. You can email me. You can text me. Any of these options. We want to serve you best this next week. Part of that is that it's kind of weird, but there's no handbook on how to suddenly send your whole team remote and deal with a pandemic. And so we are writing the handbook alongside you based on what you need most. So we want to stay connected. We want your feedback. You will hear from us on Monday. We will have a recording of this that you can send to your team. We're going to send that out on Monday with some other classes that we will give you full access to, again, for free for you and your team, your coworkers. We are so grateful to have you connected to us. Sam and I have been talking about, we've been looking forward to this time together because we connected on Monday. We had this awesome conversation, and now we're connecting again. And we want to stay in your world as a little village that can bring hope and encouragement and some actual concrete skills that will help you during this time. Is there anything else that you want to say, Sam, as we check the chat?
If anyone, before you log off, if you have any thoughts or how we can help, would love to get those from you. Just lots of good ideas, good connections. We got some moms here in the group that are saying we're trying to figure it all out and realizing we can't do it all. So finding grace is definitely a common thread. And then, we're still figuring out the classes that we have planned. So we'll share those out. Someone asked what classes. So stay tuned.
Let us know what your biggest struggles are. And we are going to take all of our content. We're going to spend time researching and bring more meaning to you this next week. We just want to help you in the ways that make sense right now. So I've got a slew of experts on my team that I can pull in and interview. I'm going to bring a human development coach who has researched a ton around neuroscience. She has books on neuroscience. I'm going to bring her in to talk about why this is so hard on our brain. We have other classes coming, and we definitely want your input so that we can direct everything that we do to actually help you. It's kind of hard to know what you need most right now because we don't have any best practices around this that we can study. So as much as you can tell us, hey, this is what I need, even if it sounds kooky to you, we want it. We want to know how to be helpful. Thank you so much for staying on this call. I'm sending you love and good vibes today as we all head into the weekend, and know that this is a great time, if it's possible, for you to rest. The best thing you can do, we've been doing research all this morning on stress. The best thing you can do is sleep. And it's the hardest thing to get when you're stressed. So as much as, just as a final little tipperuno, the research around stress says that not getting sleep is the worst thing for you. So if you can make sure to get snugly in your bed, take a hot shower to help you relax, whatever it takes to help you get a healthy amount of sleep this weekend, I know that will make a huge difference. We sleep deprive people to make them go crazy, right? And to confess things. So don't do that to yourself. Give yourself the rest and the brain rest that you need. We love you. Take care of yourself. Anytime this weekend, anytime that you need us, you know where to find us. Here's all of my information, and we will see you next week. Take care.